Before we talk about harm and how we stop it, I want to be very clear about what we've been doing so far. Welcome back to the Revolution Resolution. I'm Anna, and today I want to pause and name the work we've already done because it's been intentional and it's been necessary. For the first 24 episodes of this podcast, we have been doing something very specific. We've been learning how to see American patriarchy, not as a vague idea, not as an attitude or a personality flaw, but as a system built by the founding fathers, written into law, and protected for nearly 250 years. In the language of my book, this is where we began with our shared humanity and ancient wisdom. We talked about how we have been misled, how our stories have been contorted and buried, how some stories were elevated and romanticized to justify dehumanization and to stop us from imagining something else. We named that this story was written on purpose and that it was never the only way people have lived. From there, we moved into intuition and self-determination. We talked about how American patriarchy survives by training us to doubt ourselves, how it uses rules, reminders, and consequences to keep people in their place, how punishment, both subtle and severe, teaches silence, compliance, and fear. We named how intuition gets silenced, how discomfort is normalized, how endurance is mistaken for strength, and how this happens not because we are weak, but because a system that depends on control cannot afford people who trust themselves. Along the way, we've been reclaiming what has been taken. We've been talking about our shared humanity. When some of us have been denied recognition, ancient wisdom, when we've been told only one way of living is modern or legitimate, intuition and self-determination, when we've been taught to override ourselves, truth, when silence has been rewarded, choice, when compliance has been framed as inevitability. And we've been building shared language on purpose. Because collective change doesn't happen if we're all using different words for the same thing. If one person calls it tradition, and another calls it discipline, and another calls it just the way things are, and another calls it harm, we stay stuck. So we've been saying American patriarchy out loud. We've been saying system. We've been saying normalization. We've been saying consequences, not to overwhelm you, but to make the invisible visible. And the practices we've been working on so far have been simple, but not small. Pausing instead of overriding yourself. Naming discomfort instead of explaining it away. Believing people when they tell you something feels wrong. Practicing consent, care, and attention in everyday moments. This is not the end of the journey. This is the foundation. Because in my book, Erased, What American Patriarchy Has Hidden from Us, what comes next is our capabilities and our strength, our creativity and joy, our sense of safety and community, and our interconnectedness and courage. But we cannot reclaim all of these things I've listed if we don't first see clearly what has been erased and how. So if you've been wondering why we've been taking our time, this is why. We cannot confront harm if we don't understand the system that produces it. We cannot talk about responsibility if people are still drowning in shame. And we cannot build something new using the same tactics that kept the old system in place. So this has not just been rambling. This has been preparation. And now we're ready to go further. Thank you for staying with me on this journey. Next, we'll begin naming how silenced intuition creates the conditions for harm and what responsibility looks like once we see that clearly.